Hey guys, this is Miss Valverde, and I'm going to be going over the beginning of the cardiovascular system. We did this in class on Wednesday, so I wanted to catch up the Thursday group. All right, so we already talked about the cardiovascular system a little bit. We've gotten into some of these terms. So, cardio, we've already seen pertains to the heart, blood vessels, angi, and vaso. Arteries are arterio, capillaries, capillo, Flebo and veno are veins, and we'll go into the difference between veins and arteries in a little bit. And then hemo and hemato, blood, aorto, having to do with the aorta. And then any kind of plaque or fatty substance, athero. Right? So the primary organ is the pump, the heart, right? The heart resides within this sac that you see here. This membranous sac is the pericardium, right? And there's a couple of word parts that you should know. Peri meaning that's going around something. Heart, you already know. Just it's an ending for that one. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try to embed this link. If you can't click on this right now, then you can go into the slideshow on Classroom and click on this, and then you can actually drag and drop all the names, and they give you descriptions of the different parts of the heart. So please make sure that you do that. You can take a screenshot of it by hitting Control Alt and then the picture sign that has two lines next to it all the way up at the top of the screen for a Chromebook if you want to use this for studying. But there's also a very similar image in your textbook that you can use. All right, so please do pause the video and go through this. Check in with yourself. You could click check answers, and I'll tell you which ones you got wrong, which ones you got right. Okay. Ooh. And all right. So functions of the cardiovascular system. It's made out of the heart, the vasculo, blood vessels are having to do with pertaining to. Another one you'll see is Feb, or that should have an L over Fleb or Flebo, having to do with the veins. Okay, so it consists of the heart, blood vessels, and the blood. Okay, so here's a microscopy cartoon of blood samples. Any kind of disorder with the blood, with like things in the blood, could be called dyscrasia. All right, so dys just means like not, and then crasia mean mixing, so it's like not normal, it's mixing. So here leukemia is an example of that. We have blood mixing with more than normal amounts of white blood cells. So leuco means white. We have a bunch of the white cells in here. All right, another blood condition, if you see emia at the end, it just means it's condition of the blood. This is hemochromatosis. All right, so this is a condition in which chroma, meaning iron levels are really high in the blood. This has an interesting evolutionary history. Hemochromatosis actually started around the time of the Black Plague, and that iron loading in the blood helped people survive the plague who were like they were losing a lot of their iron levels, bloodletting a lot. So people who had that were able to survive that issue. However, now people who have hemochromatosis have to dump iron. They have to get rid of iron consistently because that loading of iron presents a problem for the body. Okay, so looking at the blood cell, call it an erythrocyte. So red blood cells are the primary ones. Then we also have the white blood cells that are in the vessels, in the arteries, but they're really more part of the immune system than they are part of the cardiovascular system. Right? Breaking down a red blood cell, its main job is to carry oxygen. The way it does that is using hemoglobin. So this is like a very complex protein. Right? Within that protein, it has smaller parts. All right, so one of the smaller parts is the heme, which actually has the iron in it, which is what the oxygen is binding to. All right. Along with the erythrocytes in the blood, there's other things in the liquid, such as sugars and carbon dioxide. Okay, so again, I'm going to try to embed the link in here. If you can't get to this link in here, you can open up the slideshow separately on Classroom, and you can go ahead and check in with your knowledge of this question. All right, an abnormality in the blood in general is, okay, I'll pause. The answer is dyscrasia. All right, okay. So different parts of the layers of the heart. So if we were to like cut into the heart, we'd have to cut through all of these things to get into the center of the heart where the actual blood is. All right, so we'd have to cut through the pericardium, and then we have like this layer of liquid in there. So that's that gap you see here, right? And then we have the myocardium, okay, which is all muscle. That's that cardiac muscle, and that's thicker down by the ventricles, the bottom part of the heart. And then we have the endocardium, the inner lining of the heart, okay? Okay. And the pericardium, sorry, right here, where the pericardium starts on this side, the epicardium is on the outside of the myocardium. All right. So getting into what's moving where. So essentially there's two main parts to what has to happen with the blood flow. The blood has to get to the heart, and then it has to go to the lungs, right? And it's going back out to the body. So it's like body and lungs are the two destinations where blood is going to from the heart. Okay. So from the body and blood throughout the body is called the systemic circulation, right? And let me see if I can move this. I can't move this image out of the way. All right. So systemic circulation has to do with where the blood is coming from. So like hands, feet, everything like that. Okay. So deoxygenated blood is then going into the heart. Okay. And it's going into the right atrium first. Then it's coming down through a valve into the ventricle on the right side. Right. Then it's going to leave the heart again and go into the lungs, the pulmonary circulation area. It's going to get oxygen there, and then it's going to come back around into the left atrium, go down into the left ventricle, right? And then it's going to go back out throughout the body through the aorta. All right, so another one, if you can't click on it here, then you're going to go into the slideshow on Classroom. All right, so the myocardium receives blood supply from right, so this is the actual muscle of the heart. It's receiving its blood through the, pause it, and the answer is coronary arteries, all right? So those would be the arteries that are on the outside of the heart that are going into the muscles, into the myocardium. All right, so if we're looking at a transverse overhead view of the valves of the heart, okay, you can see that there's 4 valves here. All right. The mitral valve is also called the bicuspid valve. Right, you see it's into 2 parts versus the tricuspid valve, which is in 3 parts, and then the pulmonary and the 2 semilunar valves. They're named after this portion. Okay, this like kind of moon-like shape that they're creating. Right, and then on the right side here, I put down where those valves are leading to. So the tricuspid is the right atrium to the ventricle. The pulmonary semilunar is the right ventricle to the pulmonary arteries going into the lungs. Right. Then the mitral is the left atrium to the ventricle, and the aorta is the aortic semilunar, is the left ventricle to the aorta. Right. All right. So the next part of the way the heart functions, other than the muscle and the direction of the blood, we have to worry about is the nervous system portion. Right. So this is like the electricity going through the heart. Okay. And this I equated to the way your car works. So when you turn on your car, right, a whole bunch of lights come on and then they slowly come off. All right. And that's your car going through all of these electrical sensors and just checking in. All right, the airbags are away, the brakes are working, the tires are fully inflated, the headlights are turned on or off. Okay, your heart does the same thing. And the main part of that is the senoatrial node, okay, which is right over here. Okay, and that's kind of like a pacemaker. So it's saying that the heart is beating at the proper rate. Okay. Then we have other check-ins. We have the atrioventricular node, okay, which is down here, right? All these nodes are communicating back with the central nervous system. Okay, and then another one that's more based on the musculature is the bundle of His, and you can see it coming down the septum of the heart. All right, got another question for you guys. Commonly known as the natural pacemaker, the medical name for this structure is. All right, pause the video, try to answer it on your own. Right. And the answer is, sorry. I'll open right here. The sinoatrial node. Okay.